All right, guys. Welcome back. So, in this video, we're going to actually create a logo. So, as you can see, the videos I posted by Adobe, those are going to be the videos to show you how to get through um, each technique and stuff like that and go more in detail. What I'm going to do with these videos from this point on is I'm just going to create a project and show you. That way you can see my workflow. I will explain the tools a little bit, but um, that's just how the structure is going to be. All right, so right now I have my local demo. I have it already named. My computer shut down, as you can imagine, so that's why it says recovered. But anyway, what I'm going to do is first step is so we're in Adobe Illustrator, and now my workspace may look different than yours. So what we're going to do is you go over here to your workspace panel, see it up here, and just click on the down arrow. And if yours just looks crazy or not crazy, but if it looks like it's been worked in, if you want yours to look the same as mine, just go down here to make sure it's set at essentials, make sure that's checked, and then just go to reset essentials. So for instance, if I was in a different workflow, let's just say I was here and then I clicked on essentials and it still doesn't look like it should, like where it's just nice and neat, I would go to the drop down and I would just hit reset essentials, and it's just going to reset it to the norm. Okay. All right. So in this logo, I'm going to create a logo for a sunglass company. I haven't decided what the sunglass company is going to be yet, but it's going to be a sunglass company. So that's what I'm going to go for. But first thing I'm going to do is save it. I don't want it to be the recovered file, so I'm just going to go and name it logo demo. And I'll make sure I'm putting it in the right folder, and this is where I want it to go. So I'm gonna hit save. It's telling me that it already exists. I'm gonna hit replace. So yours might not tell you all of that. Mine does because, like I said, that's a recovered file because my computer shut down. All right. So now that I have the file saved how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and make the shape. Sunglasses are round. And so I'm just going to go with sunglass. Now, remember, I always talk about how, as a matter of fact, before I do this, I'm noticing that some of the settings are didn't reset. So what I want to do is I want to reset my stroke and fill. And so see how this one is. I'm going to reset it to where it should look like yours look, hopefully. If yours doesn't look that, all you have to do is hit the keyboard shortcut D or just click on this white and black, and then it's going to go to the defaults. All right. Okay, so I'm happy with that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out a circle. So I chose the shape tool. I'm holding shift so that I can constrain it, and I just want a circle. So right now, that's all I did. Nothing fancy, no craziness. I just drew out a circle. All right, because this is going to represent the sunglass. And remember I said I want to do things that make it unique. So one of the ideas that I have is to just have the one sunglass show and then like the little ear arm showing. So that's the thought that I have in my head. I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know how it's going to work. I like working off the cusp. So there you go. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So I have this circle representing my sunglass with a stroke. Right now, it's a white fill and a black stroke. And you might be like, well, how do you know it's a fill? It looks the same as the background. It does, but I know because when I look over here, it's showing me the fill. It's selected, so it's showing me the fill and the stroke of this particular object that I have selected. And right now, it's showing me the fill is white and the stroke is black. Okay. So what I want to do is I want the stroke to be thicker. So I'm going to use my properties panel, and as you know from last week, the properties panel pretty much whatever tool that you have selected over here to the right where the properties panel is going to show you options that you have based off of whatever is selected. So you have to select it to affect it. That's something you need to always remember, select it to affect it. Okay. So now that I have it selected, I'm going to go over here to the properties panel and I see stroke, right? So what I'm going to do is I know that I want to thicken the stroke, but I know that I can do it. But I know there's a few things that I want to do. I want to make the stroke thicker, and I want to align the stroke to the outside. We talked about this before when we were in Photoshop. Now we're in Illustrator and we have the same options. We can align to the path, we can align to the inside, and we can align to the outside. And I want to align to the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and click on the word stroke, because anytime you see dotted lines, see how there are all these dotted lines, that's telling you that more options are there. You're going to have a dialog box that shows up. I'm going to click on that. And now it's giving me the more options that I want. So I'm going to go up to, I'm thinking about 7. Yeah, I think a 7-point brim or rim is going to be good. And for this one, I have, but it's circular, so none of these are going to matter. But the align stroke, I can align it to the outside, so I can align to the inside. I can align it to the outside. It's going to outside, so inside. And then I can align it to the center. Let me zoom in so you can actually see what's happening. Okay. So right now, this is the stroke aligned to the center. So what that means is this is the path. So you see that blue line that's going on the inside stroke of the circle. So to further show you that, if I do, let me do 0 for a second. Okay, so you see this blue path, right? And I'm going to change the color of the inside just so you can see it. Or I thought I was going to change the color. Hang on. Okay. Let me change the color from this one then. Okay, so right now you see, that doesn't help you see the blue line. This should, okay. So now you see this blue line that's around the circle, right? That is the path. That is the edge of where this circle ends, right? So that is the end. That is the edge around the circle. So right now, if I click off of it, you're not going to see any stroke because there's no stroke assigned to it. But as I hover it, you'll start to see that blue line appear. Okay, so that blue line that's appearing, that is the edge of this shape. When I decide I want to add a stroke to it, so I'm going to select this. What happens is, let me give this a color. I'll give it like a red. Okay, so what happens is I added a stroke to it, and that stroke is aligning itself by default to the left and right edges of that path. So if I make this larger, you'll see what I'm talking about, right? So the stroke is on the left and right edges, so it's given equal amounts of stroke on the left edge of this path and on the right edge of this path. Okay, so this stroke is aligned to the center of the path. That makes sense? So that means some of my stroke is taken on the inside, some of the strokes taken on the outside. Another way so that you can see the impact of this, and this is why it's super important because that you understand this, because if you don't, you'll start to see some craziness happen with your letters. So I'm going to make this larger. Now just bring this down here. All right. Okay. So with this letter, right, I have this letter. I'm going to change the color so we can see the stroke. I'm going to make it maybe a lighter blue. Okay. All right. So with this letter, right now I just have a letter form, right? I don't have any stroke on it or anything. But when I put a stroke on it, let me go to stroke. Let me choose the color. Make it darker blue. Okay. So now there's a stroke on it, right? And this stroke is following the path, even though you can't see the path of this one. It's just because it's a letter. It's not an object. But if I make this an object, matter of fact, let me do 2. All right. So I'm going to make this one an object. I'm going to go up to type, and you can do this as well. There are reasons to do it, reasons for it, and reasons not to do it also. So we go up to type, and I want to go down to create outlines. Okay. So now with this as an outline, it is no longer a letter. Now it's actually a shape. And now what you can see, the difference is if I zoom in, okay, if I select this one, right, the left one is the one that we made a shape. We can see the line going down it. If I select this one, you can't see the line because it's type. It's not a shape. All right. So that's one of the differences, and it'll make sense later down the line. But what I'm going to do with the one that's a shape, I'm going to zoom in. And so I'm going to go back out, zoom out a little bit. What you're seeing is that in comparison to the one that just has a small stroke, as a matter of fact, let me take the stroke off of this. All right. So what you're seeing is this letter that has no stroke on it, this letter has a stroke on it, and it's a thick stroke. And what's happening is it's a 7-point stroke. It is taking away from my letter form itself. See how thick this one is from left to right? See how thin the amount of space is from this one? I'll further emphasize the stroke just to give you an example. So the stroke is actually taking over my letter. You see that? Look at that. Look at how little room I have for the actual letter form, but look at how much stroke I have. And if I further emphasize that, check that out. I'm losing actual letter form to the stroke. You see how thin that is? That's not what we want. And that is because this stroke is aligned to the center of the path. Okay? Now, if I align this stroke, play with the different alignments, like for instance, if I align the stroke, so right now it's on the center. That means it's equal weight on the left and right side. If I align this to the inside, look at that. It's totally taken over my path. So, or my actual letter. So let me go a little bit less, get a little less dramatic. Just a little less, okay? So it's totally taken over the inside, because now the edge of this stroke is the path of this stroke, this is going on the inside. So now the path is on the outside of the stroke completely. Okay. So this was the center. This was the stroke in the center, right? So the stroke is given equal amounts on the left and right side. This is the stroke on the inside, right? So that means the path of this letter is on the outside of the stroke. And then this is my favorite. And this is where you align the stroke to the outside. And I like that because now I have my full letter spacing and the stroke is on the outside of that. So it's not taking away from the actual letter itself. Okay. And when you're dealing with fonts and type, you're going to want to make sure that the most important part is that letter itself. Okay. Unless now there are times when you'll want to do that, and that's fine. But in most cases, you want that letter to be strong, and then you want to put the stroke on the outside. So that is my soapbox on that one. And also, you'll start getting weird things. Let's see. Let me, there was another thing I want to show you. Okay. Let me say I want to put Andrea. I get my whole name. Okay. All right. So I have, right. So there's my name. And let's say I just start going, with the stroke, and I started putting, my, you'll start to see some weirdness happening, like up here where that N, it's just too big, and here. And a lot of times with certain letters, let's say we switch fonts, I'm trying to find one that's going to give me, there it is. There's one. Okay. There it is. All right. That's one. And Ariel 2. I'll do Ariel. So you're going to start to see that the strokes sometimes start to behave in, the way that this inner stroke is coming out. See, I was making this point. I'm going to further exaggerate it just a little bit, but you'll start to see like little spikes coming from your text as well. So that's why you want to know, what's going on with that? How do I fix that? I don't want that. That's not the option I want. So then you might play with aligning lining the stroke, but then you're like, that still didn't fix it. How do I fix that? The points that are coming out. Several ways. One would definitely be to lessen the amount of stroke that you have, but that's when I would go into play with like the little bevels. So for instance, if I do the bevel sorry, not the bevel, the different corners. So there's a beveled one that fixed the solution. Let me go back. And also the rounded one. The rounded one fixed the solution, and then the beveled one just fixed it as well. So this is where I would go into, like, if you really know you want it to be this thick, or you know how you want it to be, and for whatever reason, I just play in the stroke. Stroke to me is a super important panel, and super important to get to know. You can overstroke, which gets annoying, and then you go on that list, but understanding the stroke and how to use it, how it works, is going to help you out tremendously. All right. So that was my soapbox on the stroke. Let me go back to our lesson at hand. Okay. So I have this, so far, this McDonald's looking logo. All right. And what I'm going to do is I want to align that stroke on the outside. So now it's not taken away from any of my inside. It's the strokes on the outside. I think I'm going to go with 7. 7 looks pretty good to me. All right. Yep. So that's good. All right. So what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and start setting up the colors. I want a light blue in the center, and I want a light blue for my fill and a dark blue for my stroke. So for my stroke, let me go ahead and select the color. I think I want the dark blue for it. And then for my fill, I'm going to go with a lighter blue. So I'm going to pick this blue right here. All right. Maybe we'll see how that works. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking of at the moment. Now I have my fill and my stroke on, which looks just like a simple, little sunglass. And you're like, that don't look like a sunglass. I know. We're working on it. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, and remember another thing too that you want with your logo is as simple as possible, because you want this logo to be seen at smaller sizes. So if you think about it, something as small as a pen, a writing pen, you want that logo to be able to be put on that. So you don't want to go into too much details. I love gradients. I'm going to show you gradients here, but I wouldn't use a gradient on a logo, but I am going to show you a gradient. All right. So I have this fill, and let's say I want a more dynamic fill with the gradient. So what I'm going to do is just select a gradient. I might select this light blue to white gradient. And then I'm like, but it needs to be modified. I don't really like how, that's working. I'm not feeling how this looks or whatever. We have gradient options. Remember, it's still selected. So over here, the type of gradient that I have right now is linear. I can choose a radial gradient, which is going to radiate out from the center of the color. And I can choose what's my favorite right now. It's called the freeform gradient. What this does is allows you to control the gradient with points. What? So what I'm going to do, just to illustrate this, I'm going to go up to Window, and I'm going to pull out the swatches panel. Okay, so with my swatches panel, that's the same panel that you were seeing as I was over here clicking. But sometimes I like to pull it out so that I can just not have to go over there all the time. And all of the windows are up here. So if you're ever like, oh, I don't really want to go over to the properties panel all the time, you can just pull it out. All right. So what I'm going to do is, with this selected, see how when I hover over it, I can click it. And now I can affect it, right? Because it's selected. And we see that it's selected because it has the white and blue ring around it. And when I hover over it, there's that black dotted line. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a color, and I'll choose blue. And now you're like, okay, well, that was effective. That's okay. So I have the blue color because I want that blue in there. What I'm going to do now is when I hover away, you'll see that my cursor, it has that black arrow, the circle, and the plus. And that plus always means that I can add something. So I'm going to click plus. Now I've added another circle, and guess what? I can change that color. And now I've changed it. See that? Freeform gradient is my friend. So I might go down here and I click again, and I might put another color there, because why not, right? So I might put that lightish green there, and I might go over here and I might choose another color like purple. Or maybe I don't like purple. Maybe I'll choose pink or something like that. Now, so I have these colors. I could even go a little further and choose another color for the center if I want. I'm not. but I could. All right, so now I have these colors, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I might be like, well, that blue not working for me. Let me swap the blues, or I might go down here and be like, oh, that green's not working for me. Let me swap it. So you have options. Like you're not tied into one thing. All right. And you have other colors you can choose. You might be like, I don't like any of these. Let me choose some different colors and go for it. And what you can do though is you can control it. You can move the gradient around to where it works better for you, right? Just by clicking and holding it. You can expand the radius of the gradient. Maybe you want this going out a little further. So I'm expanding it a little bit by moving it out. So just you have options, and I'd love to encourage you guys to play. I do. I just love it, right? So so you have that, and then and then you can move it around, and then if you're happy with it, boom. You know what I mean? Now you have your your colors. So that's pretty much it. That is the gradients, right? But what happens is when you take this to print, if you take this to get professionally printed, you are charged for each color. So that's why I said I typically, one of the reasons, plus you have to rely on their printer to print these and reproduce these each and every time. And, when you try to, there are color management things that you can do to try to get the exact color where it looks on the monitor to look on the printer. And there are successes where you can do it almost perfectly. But one, it's expensive. And two, that's not always consistent. So you're going to want to make sure you take all those things into account. Unless you're using Pantone colors, then you can get the perfect color each time. But still, the issue becomes the expense and the complication, and you'll have to use those particular type of printers each and every time. So, but in any event, I try to keep my logos just as simple as possible. I only showed you because I wanted to show you that tool was here and to show you how you can use it, to benefit you, which is awesome. But I'm going to go back with a solid color, and I'm just going to click on the blue, and that makes it solid again. I actually want the stroke a little darker. More I'm looking at this, so let me see if I can go with. Yeah, I think that makes me happier. So I'm going to go with that. All right. So now I have my little sunglass. We call it my sunglass logo idea is set in place. So a few things that I want to do to this though is I'm thinking I might want to I might want like some type of little glare that goes on top of here, like some type of different in the sunglass. I might also actually look at sunglasses. I'm actually about to Google it because I need some type of reference. So I'm just Googling. Put over here. I'm just Googling sunglasses just so that I can get some type of reference. This is kind of what I like as far as style. I want one that's the circular style. I want to play off of so typically I would play off of this and I would draw this, but this time I want something different and I just want to play off of like the ear, right? So I like this for the earpiece and just playing off of that. And maybe what I'm thinking off the cusp is I might put some text here for the logo, maybe put some text here, but I'm kind of going off of just this half of the sunglasses. Maybe this, that looks kind of cool. So I don't know, but I would definitely keep these up as a reference, or I might look for some other ones, but I always try to keep a reference up so that I can look and reference each time and say, oh, I kind of want that, or I kind of want that. So that's kind of what I'm going with, is that simple shape. And I might draw out, what do you call it? An arm. And I'll definitely have like a little piece right here or something. So, all right. So I just want to show you that I'm definitely going to, that's how I'm using my references to make this work. But there is also I don't see it here, but there's also a little glaring part that I'm thinking I'm gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna select this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my pencil tool, or you can grab the pen tool. You know, whatever tool works for you. Remember, the pen tool is super easy to use, and there are videos on how to use it as well. Not super easy. I shouldn't say that. I like it, and I feel like it's pretty easy, but um, it has a learning curve, so you definitely have to practice with it to get it to um, work the way that you want it to work. All right, but I'm gonna grab the pencil tool, and what I'm gonna do with this is I'm just going to, actually, I don't want to select it. Okay. I'm going to draw the pencil tool. But what I'm going to do is I know that whatever I draw, I want to be inside of this shape, right? I don't want to draw a shape outside of it. So what I'm going to do is go to our different drawing modes. So down here at the bottom of our toolbox, we have this ellipse where we can edit the toolbar. We have this one where we can change the mode of how we see, like preview mode. And we have this one where we can change our drawing modes. And it's the little one right below these swatches. So I'm going to click here. And we have three modes. We have the draw behind. And as you can imagine, this is going to let us draw behind the shape. First, we have draw normal, which lets us draw like we normally draw, right? We're just drawing pretty much, you know, with layering in mind. Then we have the draw behind, where we can draw behind the object. But then we have this awesome one, which is called draw inside. Once we click draw inside, we're going to see that these four little corners show up, letting us know what our boundaries are. So this means that anything I draw at this point is going to fit inside of these four corners. And I think at this point, yep. So now that I'm in draw inside mode, I can actually choose a different color. And I actually want no stroke. I'm going to click on the stroke. I'm going to choose no. And I want to pick a lighter color. So I'm just going to double click on the swatch. And I'm going to click up here. And I'm going to hit OK. So now I can grab whatever tool I want. Pencil is what I said. And I can actually draw like whatever I want, you know, and it's going to draw it inside of that shape. Now, as you notice, my color went away, and that's fine. I can just go ahead and select the color that I chose. And now, so I have kind of like the little Pepsi logo-ish, you know, thing, but I'm using it for sunglasses. And I can click on the black arrow and click, and now I have my little wave of sunset, you know. And I actually like that, but that's not what we were going for. So if you click out of here, notice it's harder for me to grab that. I can just get the white arrow and then click, and I can manipulate this. So I can move this wherever I want. I can say, you know, oh, you know, I think I want this to look like this, and I can do that as well. So, you know, I just have options of modifying this if I need to. I'm just going to Control X because that's not what I want. What I'm going to do now, right? So I tried it with the pencil tool. I didn't like it. So what I'm going to do is grab a shape, and maybe now I can either do a star tool. I can, you know, if I wanted like a little star in my sunglasses, so like the little superstar, or I can get the rectangle tool, which is what I'm going to get. And I just want a box. Okay, so now with my sunglasses, I'm saying, okay, well, I want this box from this area to this area. I can cant it if I want. Like if I wanted the sunglasses to kind of have an angle on how they were, you know, on the little, what is it, like highlight of it. I can do that. I can change the opacity if I want some of the, if I just want it a little bit lighter, maybe go with maybe that, you know. I'm gonna get the white arrow again, and I'm gonna put it back because I don't like the canting, but it's all about playing, and that's kind of like my thing. And if I am having a hard time like grabbing this or rotating this, remember that properties panel is right there. So I can go up here where it says rotate, and I can say 0 to not have it rotate at all. You know, I have options, and that's all I'm saying. We have options. If I wanted to further manipulate this, you guys know we talked about this live. I know we talked about live. I'm not sure. I can actually click on the anchor point tool, and I can sort of manipulate by just clicking and grabbing. I can kind of manipulate you know, um, the curve. So that actually is what I want. I like that. And so I'm still in draw side mode. So if I just go and I try to, let's say I want to make a star, and I want it to be orange at full, and I draw it out. Well, notice you can't see it. You know why? Because I'm still in drawing side mode. So nothing is drawing outside of here, no matter what I do. So if I click and bring this over, now you see the star because it is confined. I am confined to drawing side mode, which is what I love about this mode. Um, so if I want to add something cool to this, right? Maybe I want our sunglasses have let me move that. Our sunglasses have like a little symbol in each one. This is starting to look like a ball, but that's okay. Our sunglasses have like a little symbol or something on each edge, right? Which is how you know our company as well. So now I might go and play with the opacity of that because maybe I just want it to be 45. Okay. Maybe I just want it to be some type of accent on the sunglasses. I don't know. Well, maybe I do. All right. But in any event, and we'll see how that looks. I think I want that to be blue, though. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So in any event, maybe that's how I want this to be. All of these, I made sure were the same color blues, but just different tints. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to get out of drawing side mode so that I can draw stuff on the outside of here. So I'm going to go back to my drawing modes and go back to draw normal. Notice those lines go away. And now I'm in normal draw mode. So very important that you switch out because if you don't, then you're not, the stuff that it does isn't going to make sense to you. All right, so I'm going to go to grab a stroke, and this time I'm going to say 7 points, and I'm going to wait. What happened? Let me see. Okay, so I'm going in my layers panel, and because it made it a clip group, because so now everything is clipped inside of this circle. When my stroke has gone away. But if we see it in the properties panel, we see that the stroke is still there, but it's gone away from my because now my stuff is clipped into a circle. So I'm gonna try. So the stroke to the outside will no longer work because it's clipping it to the path. All right. So in this event, now I got to go stroke to the inside. I'm sorry, to the path. And I'm going to go with a smaller stroke. Okay. So those are some of the limitations. There are ways around it, but I don't want to go to ways around it. We're not there yet as a class. All right. So now I have these sunglasses. This is what I kind of want to represent my brand. So I know the sunglasses have like this little knockoff on the side. So I'm going to go with let's just do a little square. Maybe put it right here. And then I don't want a stroke, of course. I do want the corners rounded. So that's what they look like. And I do want it to be like maybe right there. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to Alt and bring this over. This is just going to kind of be a guide for me. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I know that I want this to go to the back, so I can either go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and it'll send it behind that because I just want that little bump out. And then over here is where I'm going to start to form my form the arm that's going to come out. So I'm just grabbing a little edge. Remember, I want the little sunglass arm. And then I'm going to also hold Alt just because I want everything constrained. I'm going to draw out another one. and I'm going to hover over the side and just go ahead and, yeah. And then just go ahead and line this up. Here we go. All right. So now I got my little bump out on the side, and I'm going to, let's see, bring this in some. I think I'm going to bring it in some. What's happening? Let me see. Not quite sure why this is not moving at the moment for me. It's all right. I'll grab this one. All right. We rotate. So all I did was Alt and grab another area. Okay. And definitely want this smaller. Not really sure why it's not. Hang on. Let me arrange this real quick. Send to back. This is why I like doing stuff live, because you guys can see that I have the same struggles you guys have all the time. All right. And then I definitely want to cut it up a little bit. Yeah. That's what I want. But let me see. Oops. Thought I had them both. Make sure you have them both. This is definitely going to be lower. All right. Let's see if I'm going to like it. I'm a bit picky though. But we'll see. We'll see. So this bump out, I definitely want to go in some more. Just want the little bump for the other side of the sunglasses. And then what I'm trying to do now is perspective. This is really off, but that's okay. The whole purpose is to show you guys how my workflow, but not the full workflow. And then it might not even work. Like this idea might not work to have the one side and then the other. It might not work because I don't have the distinguished property of a sunglass, right? Is the sunglasses. So looking at it from this angle that I'm trying to look at it as without the other side is probably just not going to work. So I'm going to move this down here. And sometimes that is what happens. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I'm still going to use this as a frame of reference. So I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to bring this out here, and I'm going to hope that the tools allow me. So I want to warp this into that round nose guard that you would normally see. So I'm going to go up to Effect, and I'm going to play and see if I can get this to warp. So I'm going to choose Warp. I'm going to choose Arc, and there it is. So that's awesome. So there are a lot of options in here that you can use to warp your paths into what you want them to be. So make sure you're using those. I'm happy with the way it is now, so I'm just gonna hit OK. And then so once I have this the way I want it, I can group it. So I can go up to Object, Group, and it's gonna group that with this. And what I'm gonna do now is hold Alt or hold Option or Alt because I just want to duplicate this and bring it to this side. But what I can also do is I can go up to, instead of doing it that way that I just did, I can go up to Object, I can go up to Transform, and I can go to Reflect, and now I can hit Preview and see how it's reflecting. So it moved it to the other side. If I hit OK, it's going to take over. What I want to do is copy, right? So when I hit copy, it made a copy of it, and all I have to do is grab that copy, holding shift so I can keep it in place, and move it over. Now, I only did copy once, I think, so I don't know what just happened. Let me try that again. All right, I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and Reflect. Okay, so I have it, and I'm choosing Copy. And what I'm going to do, this time I'm just holding Shift, to move it. Shift and the right arrow because I didn't know why. So now I can grab it. I should be able to grab it. All right. All right. I can grab it and move it over. And see how these guys are kind of telling me, hey, this is where they intersect? It kind of helps me out. So now I have my sunglasses, right, that I want to use for my company. And remember, initially I started off wanting to use it one way, but that way didn't work. So I had to kind of change gears. And a lot of times when you're designing, that is what's going to happen. So you really have to just get used to, oh, okay, well, that didn't work. How do I change this? I'm not quite sure I like the positioning of this, so I might move this over just a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of want it to be... There we go. Let me see. Yep, I like that better. Okay. So now I have these sunglasses, right? They're cool sunglasses for my company. And now I might want to either show the part that comes out like this. And the way I would do that as well is I might copy this. And I just try to copy first just to get like different angles. And I'm going to bring this out like this because I just want like that little piece that's coming out. And then I might go up to Object and reflect this again and hit OK. Oh, no, wrong. Whew, let me undo that. All right, I might go to Object and reflect again. And then I want to hit Copy so that it makes a copy of it. And now I'm going to grab that one, hold Shift, and try to bring it out to exactly where the other one is. Okay. So now I kind of have these sunglasses. What I want to do now is I'm going to go back and grab another one because I want that area in the center. Remember that area in the center? That's just the box, but I don't want this one to have a warp on it. So now it's like, well, how do I undo that warp because it's not showing? Well, in walks another panel, and that's going to be the appearance panel, or you can actually go over here. The appearance panel actually shows up here, which is awesome. And click on that warp arc. And so I have those options right there. And I'm going to take it off and adjust it. We're supposed to be able to see it in real time. So I'm going to unpreview. There we go. And hit OK. Okay. So now this is how I want this. And I'm going to try to line it up as best I can. I know that I need to extend it, right? So I'm going to hold Alt and just grab the center area. All right. And are you matching up? Intersect. There we go. All right. So now what I have is the arm that goes through. I have the top. This represents the arms that are coming in from the side, or the little, what do you call it? I don't know eyeglass terminology, but the little bumper on the side of it. And typically, it's this area right here. Typically, people don't show those, but I wanted to show it because I want mine to be unique. So I have this arm going from, this is the nose piece. This arm going all the way across, and then I don't show the inside, but that's the arm going that's coming out the edge, and that's the arm going out that's coming out the edge. Okay, so that's the idea, and that's how I envisioned this and wanted to envision this and make it happen. Does it look exactly like a sunglass? Nope, but I like it. Okay, so and I'm happy with it. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and start making this out to be a logo. I'm gonna get rid of this one because I don't want it. But now I have, say, my logo. I'm gonna actually increase this stroke now because I want a bigger stroke. So I'm going to increase the stroke on both of these. I'm going to go back to the properties panel. And so isolation mode.